Kaboom! Hey, YouTube community, what's going on? Ty here, Breaker Culture, Bench Clear Media team. Today, I have a podcast for you to listen to. It's actually audio only. I didn't get a chance. We had a bandwidth issue, so we couldn't record video. But it's a great episode that sat down with Marcel Bilak, one of my favorite dudes in the hobby. I've known this guy for, 8-9 years. He owned a very prominent shop in Las Vegas for a decade. And then about 7 or 8 months ago, decided to open a different shop because he sold off his shop in 2018. He now owns a shop called the Awesome Card Shop in Las Vegas. And he's doing some spectacular things with his shop. I'll let him tell you about that. But we're talking a lot about something we started together. And we've been working on this for a while. And it finally has come to fruition. And you've known me for a long time. For those that don't, I've been doing a podcast and been in the hobby for many, many years. And I love the community piece of it. Mike and I talk about it all the time, Baseball Collector, about just the genuine authenticity that exists in the hobby is really what keeps us all grounded and sticking around the hobby, for the lack of a better term these days, I feel like. But I am not afraid to voice my frustrations with all of the annoyances that exist on selling on eBay. In fact, I do that on Twitter a lot because I take pride in doing a good job of taking care of people and trying to go above and beyond to provide aggressive prices, but more importantly, just provide good support and services. And there's just an influx of a lot of new buyers that aren't familiar with the way the hobby typically tries to do business. So anyway, long story short, Marcel and I started something called thecardflip.com, and it is meant to be a marketplace that is really focused on taking care of sellers. Honestly, that's what it's all about. Every seller that signs up gets no transaction fees, no selling fees on the platform for the first 30 days. And there will be a max fee of 1% when you do sign up. So it's meant to be a place for you to transact and be taken care of. Marcel and I have a team of 4 that have been working on developing the site. There's a great back end for sellers to sell and a very easy transactional front end for buyers to buy. So I'm excited. I'm extremely excited for you to go check out thecardflip.com. And I would love for you to click the link in the show notes and go register. If you're a seller, pretty simple verification process. You'll simply click the, I'm going to register and then I want to be a seller, and you'll get an email from us that will walk you through the process, the things that we're looking for. And there'll be a dashboard for you to follow, and you'll enjoy that, I think. And then as a buyer, we do need you to verify your email address, but it's a simple PayPal transaction. Both sides are protected, and there's a lot of good stuff. A lot of great wax hitting the store. There's already $200,000 plus of inventory on there from various sellers. We will have supplies by the time you're watching this. There'll be a supplies category popping up, and a lot of the vendors that we are working with already want to start using it as a platform to sell supplies. And there's going to be just a ridiculous amount of great graded cards for you there. So anyway, enjoy the conversation with Marcel, and you can hear the background behind all that. But I definitely just want you to stop, click the link, go check out thecardflip.com, and email me if you have any questions. But we got your back, and we're excited to provide a platform that is meant to protect the community, the sellers community, that vibe within the hobby. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so Marcel, I cannot believe it's been 8 years since we've known each other, and this is the first time I've had you on the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Yes, it's been a journey. I knew you all the way back from what was it called? Cardboard Freedom or something?
That was my LLC back in the day when I was trying to do breaks. That was pre-China, so that was 13 and 14. You and I were talking. I remember I met you because I was breaking like tons of Topps flagship, and you were buying all my leftover commons. You remember that?
Yes, that's right. You were doing, weren't you like you had like a what's it, Brenda Beck and Brenda, what was the name of those guys? Yeah, you had like an operation like that, right?
Well, nowhere near what Brent does, but yeah, I was
Yeah.
attempting to do, ripping and flipping at scale back then, and what a different world it was then. It's crazy to think of how that would work nowadays. Just
No,
getting the
right.
product.
Yeah. Good
If
luck.
only you had all those comments now, right?
Yeah. Good luck getting the the product to do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, many of the, I don't know, veteran collectors in the hobby will probably know your name if they've been around a while. But Marcel Bilak, you owned a pretty popular card shop in Las Vegas for some time. When did you open Legacy? When was that? What year?
I pretty sure it was April of 2006 or 2007.
And
Uh,
how long did you own it? Was it till what, 18 or 19?
so we're in 21. So I sold it in 18. So it was like 12 years, I think.
Wow. You essentially sold it right before the hobby took off. So you have a really good sixth sense about where the hobby's going. I like it.
Hey, but you know what? This is the thing. This is the thing about the hobby and about hobby shops is that prior to this explosion we've had in the hobby, the collecting pool, collectors as a whole, and the pool has been so small that to try and sell a hobby shop for hobby shop owners has always been quite a feat because there aren't that many collectors. Then you have to find a collector that actually wants to own a shop. Then you have to find a collector that has the money to own a shop. And it it just the pool is very small. So the only time I could have really successfully sold my shop was at a high point. And at the time when I sold it, um, the hobby was pretty high. I mean, I didn't know that there'd be COVID and that and that, a disaster would turn the hobby into a glorious, glorious place.
Yeah. Well, I think it was that first month you and I were talking when all this was happening. I guess it was March, well, about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago. I remember you and I talking and thinking, what is this going to do to the hobby? Like, it's a good thing you got out, and then 2 months
Yeah,
later, like, wait a second, is this really happening?
I know. Who would have thought? Who honestly, who would have thought? I those first few months when uh when COVID came to the United States and everything started shutting down. I mean, all the sectors. It wasn't just the hobby, but I mean, everybody was just doom and gloom. But good old Uncle Sam and the world economy decided to pump the entire world monetary infrastructure with billions and billions of dollars.
I think it's actually trillions and trillions at this point.
Yeah, it's trillions. It's trillions.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I know we're not going to talk too much about that, but I like when you think back on the legacy days, and I mean, I'm gonna a little spoiler alert. You just opened a new card shop, so we're gonna talk about that here in a minute. But when you think back at your legacy days, talk about the ups and downs of that, like owning a card shop for 11 years, and I mean, how did you deal with it? Like, it was just that was a different world of collectors then. Like, how did you constantly make it work? You had dedicated employees that sometimes you got a tough time making ends meet, I think, at the end of the month. But like, what explain kind of for people that don't realize how hard it was from 2006 or 7 to 2018, like what it was like to own a card shop.
Oh my gosh. It's interesting because for a while there, after I first opened, uh, the distributor that I worked with, and I love those guys over there at GTS. They used to have me talk to prospective card shop um, owners that
Um,
wanted to open up a shop, and they would have me talk to them and coach them through the idea of opening up a shop because I had like I actually it took me about a year and a half to open the shop. I wrote a full business plan, um, and I did it with the help of the SBA, and I applied for a loan, and it took me 6 months to identify the location of the shop. I really crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, and I went into this like, like I was opening up a multi-million dollar business.
Mhm.
But what I will say is this: I opened my shop. Oh, you know what? It was 2007 April. I opened my shop, and not kidding you, what was it? 3, 4 months after I opened my shop, I'm sitting there, and I'm watching the collapse of
Financial markets.
financial markets. Um, I'm watching all this. I'm watching the news and just watching Wall Street taking a beating, and banks filing for bankruptcy, and financial institutions closing. Literally, when I opened my shop, I could not have opened probably at a worse time. I'm not joking you. Nobody wanted sports cards. Everybody was selling sports cards. People were losing their houses, were out of work, and the last thing they were thinking about was sports cards. It was it was really, really, really hard. And Las Vegas was one of the. I'm in Las Vegas. Las Vegas was one of the worst hit markets um, in the country, and so it was a horrible, horrible grind. And
Mm.
you know, every product, not every, but for a long time. I mean, now, everybody who got in the last year or two, they think, oh, you buy a product, it goes up, right?
Right.
And that's the way it kind of works. But for quite some time, most products you bought went down. They just went down. You know, there wasn't people weren't collecting. People didn't have discretionary income, and products would come out. And a week or two after they came out, if you bought a box at $85 and that was your cost, the box would be worth $70 or $75. And that kind of went on for years. We're not talking about months, years. So, only the winners were winners. There'd be a handful of products every year that you could count on, and then there'd be some surprise picks, but the rest of them, you just crossed your fingers, held onto your pants, and hoped that they didn't go down in value. And so, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of grinding, a lot of pinching pennies, and just trying to figure out ways to make it work. But that being said, all those years have really set me up for success now. I mean, long story short, and I'll say this: the when I sold my shop, I kept one foot in the hobby, and as soon as I saw the hobby taking off, I jumped right back in and put 2 feet in. And even though I didn't have my shop, and I've made I made an absurd amount of money, but I've been very successful at everything I do. I think at this point, at this juncture that we're at, if you know what you're doing and you're in this hobby and you have experience, it can be quite easy. But um, but it's very much different than what it's been, what it was before, and that will return. Things are cyclical. You know that. You know that, Tyler. Things are
Yeah.
cyclical. Economies are cyclical. Fads are cyclical. So we will cycle back to that at some point. But for right now, I mean, they're getting this good, so um, it's pretty easy.
So you see like the explosion right now in the hobby, and you just said it's cyclical. And when you look back at your time in the hobby, you have, I mean, a depth of experience, much more than many normal collectors do. Does it concern you because you've seen this play out before? The the rise and the fall type setting. Do you feel that way
I
right
mean,
now, or
um, at this moment, I don't. Um, I think that at this moment I don't. I think that the pool of collectors has grown so much. Just the sheer amount of people that are in the hobby collecting right now, and the supply that's available just because of licensing rights and COVID restrictions, what some of these manufacturers can actually manufacture in terms of quantity of product. But again, there's also licensing restrictions. So when you put those two together, I just think that even when when their habits start changing, and they'll be able to use their discretionary income for traveling, for movies, for shows, for experiences, right? Like going to sports venues. When discretionary income will again be used for experiences, and people won't be pouring all their money into hard assets, because that's what's hard assets are through the roof right now: housing, boats, collectibles. So hard assets, it's all about hard assets, but people will be spending their money elsewhere. I still think we're going to be left with a larger pool of collectors, and I think the hobby will stay strong. But I do think that we're in for um, for some pretty heavy inflation. I don't know when. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to suddenly happen. I don't know if there'll be some sort of financial collapse before it, or right as we walk into it. But at that point, I think people are going to be running for the exit. Yeah.
Uh, no, I think I agree with everything you just said. So let me ask one more question about your past with Legacy, and then we can shift towards some other fun stuff that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But if you were looking back, and I think it's probably applicable because you obviously just opened a new shop. When you look back at your experience at Legacy, what is one thing that stands out to you that you would have done completely different, knowing what you know? By the way, I don't prep interviewer like guests with questions, so you're thinking of this on the fly, and I get that.
No, 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 no. It's good. You know what? You know what it's like. What do they call it when when you when you uh, when you critique the football game on Monday? What do you like? Uh,
Monday morning quarterback, yes,
Monday morning quarterback, right?
exactly.
So it's. I mean, you know, what would I have done differently? I wouldn't have. Honestly, there's nothing that I wouldn't have done differently. If I mean, I'll tell you, my new card shop that I just opened, the Awesome Card Shop. I'm doing everything differently there because I'm just gathering all my experience, and I know what I need to do in this market, and it's so clear. The answers, the path to success, and the path to making a financially viable business is so clear. It's so easy to see. But it's not about necessarily about what I would have done different. I wouldn't have done anything different. I mean, I tried to run, you know, small hometown promotions. I got very much involved in the Beckett marketplace. At one point, we were one of the largest Beckett marketplace dealers. We launched a website and we tried to sell hobby boxes. And we played and played hard in every facet of the business
Yep.
for the most part. And I learned enough about all aspects that now in this new card shop, in this economy, it's going to be a grand slam. I wouldn't have done anything different. You know, it's like regretting your past. You know, everything that you've done up to this day makes you who you are today. And uh, I'm I like to think I'm a pretty grounded, grateful person, and I'm very happy and grateful for all the lumps and bumps I took with the last shop, because it's a I paved the road for utter and complete success with my new shop.
I love it. Now tell me and tell others when they come to Vegas and they look up the Awesome Card Shop, like explain to people what what kind of experience are you hoping they get when they come to your shop? You set the stage, man. You set the stage. You said you learned and you've got this thing somewhat dialed in. I want to know what that means. Like, what can people expect?
You know what? I was going to say something that I can't say on your show, um, but that's okay. Listen, it's good. It's good. I am building, well, I am creating. And so I can't let the cat out of the bag right now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We just opened, yesterday. We just opened on April 3rd. It was a soft opening. The shop is not complete. It will be complete and fully revved up, 100% ready to rock and roll in about 30 days. But I have some plans and some features. It's not necessarily what I'm carrying, because
Mm-hmm.
we're going to carry everything under the sun, and we're going to do it better than anybody else does in Las Vegas. We're going to have the all the products and all the things that people look for in a hobby shop. That's easy. Um, but the features, today's collector expects more. This new hobby phenomenon and the price of the cards and the people who are involved in the hobby now, they expect more, and I expect more of myself to deliver that to them. So there's some features and aspects. That's about as much as I can tell you. Features and aspects and environment which I'm going to create in my shop that no other shop has done before. And we're going to stand out so far and above the rest, I hope. And not to say anything about any other card shops. I love card shops. Everyone in the country knows me. I always visit everybody. I love everybody. Um, but I'm just doing something really special and unique. And um, first to the rodeo is the idea here. So,
Well, I can say this much, and obviously I would consider you a close friend, and I know what you're building, and I know your vision, and I think it's going to be spectacular. I was hoping I could drag a little bit out of you today, but 30 days from now, we'll have you back on to talk about what you are doing specifically in the Awesome Card Shop, because I think people are going to gravitate to what ideas you're kind of coming up with. It's pretty fun, man. I
hey
applaud you on
man,
being bold in this, but
it's like the song. You've got kids. Did you see the Lego movie, the original
oh
one?
yeah, everything is
Everything is
awesome.
awesome. So that's basically it, man. Everything is awesome, and it's gonna be awesome. I swear.
Absolutely, everything's going to be awesome. Especially going to be awesome when we talk about really why I want to have you on the show today. And I'm excited to break some news that you and I have been cooking up for. We've been talking about it for quite some time, but it really wasn't until, gosh, I want to say 7 or 8 months ago when you and I were both like, okay, let's do this. Like this, we got to fix a problem that you and I are just frustrated with. You ready to talk about this?
I am so ready.
All right. So 7, 8 months ago, you and I were both just voicing our frustrations with buying and selling in the typical marketplaces that exist now.
Yep.
And I mean, we could go, and we'll probably end up doing this in the next few minutes, is going down our normal frustrations, right? From dealing with the returns and really just the environment that isn't very seller friendly that exists on eBay, to the kind of wild west that exists in other worlds like Facebook marketplaces, right?
Yep.
And you and I thought, man, okay, we should put our heads together and come up with a seller friendly marketplace that's so focused on simplicity that people look forward to going and buying a box, a sealed box, or buying a graded cards, knowing that they're going to deal with sellers who are top notch, and they're going to deal with an experience that just doesn't have anything that frustrates them.
Yeah.
Um, So we settled on an idea late last summer, and it's evolved into something that we are actually going live with by the time you hear this podcast released this week. What else do you want to add? What else do you want to add to this?
No, I mean you hit it on the nail. Um, you know, we were talking earlier about the past, and there was a time when you could list on eBay, and once in a while you'd have a return. Once in a while, a guy would ask for a return because a player blew his knee out, or a player had an injury, or you could tell that the guy tried to do a quick grade on the card and didn't get the grade he wanted. And that always kind of happened here and there. But in this new environment, it's all the time.
All the time.
It's all the time. I mean, and it's very frustrating because, for good sellers, well, for everybody, but for sellers that are trying to do the right thing, they want to be able to sell their card. They want to be able to sell their card and not feel like someone's going to turn around and return it. Or I was just talking to somebody at my shop that told me that they sold a card to someone. There was a no return policy on eBay. And in order to return the card, because the card was not damaged, the seller damaged it. The seller damaged the card, bent it in half, took a picture of it, and sent it to eBay, said, "This card is damaged, look." Um, so you and I talked about all that, and um, you're right. I think that we came to the conclusion that we wanted to create something that really was a seller's marketplace, and we wanted to have the highest level of sellers that know how to transact and take care of their customers. They know how to list, they know how to scan their cards, they know how to ship quickly and provide tracking, and they know how to provide good customer service. So um, we kind of, I think you and I decided that, based on all these issues that everyone's having with the current marketplace, which is mostly eBay. I mean, that's been the go-to place. We wanted to create something where sellers could sell, not be gouged for fees, and not have to worry about these type of returns.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. You nailed it. And people are already thinking, okay, what the heck are they talking about? Did they spin something up? And the answer to that question is yes. Marcel and I have officially finally able to say this. We're rolling out something live today called the Card Flip, and it's thecardflip.com. And it is a marketplace that is 100% focused on making buying and selling super easy with incredibly low fees. And it took us a while. You and I kept tweaking this thing. We kept thinking, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's do it this way. No, this is too convoluted. No, this is overly simple. No,
Yeah.
we don't like to look. I mean, for those that haven't developed a site or have gone through this process, it is difficult, especially this day and age when we know the expectations are so high. But we worked hard to come up with that platform that we felt could support the buying and selling that we think we can drive. And I know people are already going to say, hey, there's already some other potential platforms out there that do this, and that's fine. I think everyone has their place, but I've been around long enough. You've definitely been around long enough to know that it means a lot to get behind something, and people know us well enough to know that we're going to treat and do people right. And that was our intent in this, is creating that environment where people feel really comfortable that the people behind this have been in the hobby for a long time and have their back. And so that's why we did this. We put a lot of money and time into this, man.
100%, 100%. And I'm with you on it. I just, you know, I mean, you know, there are other marketplaces, and some of them You know, when you take a step back, it's just like you said. I want people to know that the card flip, um, that it's you and I back there, like in the back room, like in this, like just picture this virtual back room. In this back room, you've got these two guys here that are in your shoes. We we literally are in the hobby. We literally sell products. We literally are thinking about you, the seller, you, the buyer, in every facet of what we're doing with the site, because we're trying to take care of the transaction the way we would want it taken care of us, taken care of for us.
Yep.
So I think the car flip is awesome, man. It's we definitely uh worked hard, and it's simple, it's clean. Uh we've got it, we've got it right now at 1% selling fees. I mean, come on. After paying, what have we been paying on eBay? 10% basically all these years.
Yeah, 10 to 13.
Yeah, 10 to 13 depending. So we've got it down to 1%. I mean, you know, gosh, that's 9% difference. And if anyone out there's listening and they are a frequent seller, think about that. Think about your number, because PayPal gives you a 1099 now at the end of the year. So most of us sellers know what we're doing every year. Think about 9% more in your pocket. Like, it's huge. And then think about a marketplace where you haven't mentioned this, Tyler, but I'm going to mention it now. Tyler and I kind of decided that it was going to be a really friendly place, but a no nonsense place where we've got guidelines set up that we just don't play around. You're supposed to ship your item in a timely fashion. I think you've got what did we set it at? 48 hours to ship or 72?
You have 2 business days to ship. So that's the agreement you make as a seller.
Right. So you got 2 business days to ship. But if you as a seller aren't meeting those requirements, pretty much you're not going to be allowed to sell. And uh, if a seller has a transaction with a buyer, and the buyer has buyer's remorse after, and that's fine. You can have buyer's remorse, but if you do it on our site, we're just not going to allow you to buy anymore. We created a place where we want people to feel safe in the transaction. We're protecting the transaction, and the way we do it is by getting top-notch sellers on there. Just by getting the best sellers on there, we are protecting our buyers. And it's a no nonsense place. You follow the rules, you complete good transactions, you pay on time, you ship on time, and and you you don't play those eBay games on our site, because we just won't let you get back on the site. So
Yeah. Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, I collect enough, and I know there's enough there's enough sellers that invest. I mean, it's a career for a lot of these people. It is
oh
not
yeah,
just a game for them. It is their livelihood. And it's not my specific livelihood, but it's a big part of that. And not only are you paying 9%, but you're dealing with a good percentage of people that are just screwing around with your money. And that gets old, and it gets costly. And so our main goal in doing this was, let's eliminate the excessive costs, and let's eliminate the excessive games being played. And let's make this really, really, really efficient and fun for sellers. And so, yeah, people are going to ask, hey, how do you transact and all that stuff? And you can get into the nitty gritty by going to the site, thecardflip.com, and you'll be able to see exactly what the rules are. It's pretty straightforward, but we're all used to PayPal. So we standardize on PayPal, and PayPal does a lot to already protect buyers and sellers. So when you're transacting, you know that you have not just us watching over the transaction, but also PayPal protecting kind of the entire transaction. Um, it's funny. I've started to mention this to folks slowly, and obviously it's going to go out in the podcast, and so people are going to gravitate towards it. And I'm just going to preface this first off by saying the immediate response has been, "Oh wow, this is really slick. This is nice and clean. I'm looking forward to this." But why don't you add this? And why don't you add that? Have you thought about this? And I'll preface your first experience with the card flip with, we wanted to start out with the core kind of backbone of the platform. And Marcel and I, we have a team behind us, multiple people working to make the site constantly better and taking feedback and running the site. And there is a long list of things that we'll be constantly adding over the coming weeks to make this thing spectacular. But just bear with us when it comes to that. But
yeah, listen, you know what it's like. So everyone, you may not know this, Ty, because we've been buds for so long, but you're usually somewhere across the world. um, but I'm big on Oreos. Okay, I love Oreos, right?
so do I. How do we not know this? We shared this love.
Oh, really?
That's my
Man,
thing.
so everyone makes fun of me since I was like 11 years old. You could go to my house, and I always had Oreos and ginger ale. Okay, and that was just the snack: Oreos and ginger ale. So Oreo day, keeps everything away. So, but check this out, man. Our site, it's like the Oreo cookie. I just thought about it. So when people go there, they might say exactly, they're going to think, gosh, they could have done this, or they could add this, or there's so much they could add. And we might very well do that. But we're concentrated on putting out the Oreo cookie. In the future, we'll have the Oreo cookie coated with chocolate, right? And then we'll have the double stuff Oreo cookie. And we'll have all kinds of Oreo cookies, but we want to have that one Oreo cookie that everybody loves and can rely on, right? When you grab for an Oreo, you know exactly what you're getting. You know where to get it. You know how much it costs. You know how great it's going to be when you have your Oreo. That's what I think you and I want to do right now. We want to create something simple, reliable, that's great, and then we'll do all kinds of sort of things if needed.
Well, I tell you this, I'm not putting that on the mission statement on the site, but I do like the analogy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I do think it's fair though, right? We're going to get to a certain point where it'll continue to evolve and it'll have a lot of features that people need. But I'll just say this, man, when people log in as a buyer, they're going to be like, okay, that was really easy. This is great. You got to ship to a confirmed address. You got to list a confirmed address. You got to really quickly validate your email address when you sign up. But otherwise, you're running a complete transaction in less than 30 seconds. You can get the card you want, and it's going to be shipped in 2 days. From the seller's perspective, we have a great platform. Like we tested this with a guy a couple of days ago. We said, hey, man, I want you to sign up. We're going to approve you. Go validate this by listing a card and getting it on the site and tell me what you think. I mean, 2 minutes later, he had a card listed. It was already indexed, already Google SEO'd, so people could find it when they were looking on Google. And it was something people could purchase 2 minutes later. And it was incredibly clean. There's a lot to be said about that as a seller. And you're going to be impressed when you log in and see this platform that is built to make things easy for you. There's little things that are built in to obviously do things for you on the accounting side and the analytics side, because everyone knows I'm an analytics guy. So we had to include some of that. But man, oh man, I'm just excited about the simplicity.
Yeah. Yep. It's awesome. I'm proud of the work that we've done, man. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to mention this first off because it's important to get this out there. But second, we felt it was important to get some of the best sellers out there on the site. And when anyone signs up and gets approved, and you get approved by answering some questions in the questionnaire that we provide and going on our site and validating a few things when you sign up, You list for free. There's not even a 1% fee. There's 0% fee for 30 days on the site. So you can test it out. You and I are focused on driving traffic. So you can consider us advocates for making sure your card gets seen. And you list the price you want to sell that bad boy at, and it's probably going to sell. I can tell you that. If it's aggressive, it's probably going to sell because we're going to be pushing a lot of traffic your way.
Yep. Your
dog's even excited. That's good to hear.
I'm sorry. Oh gosh, we can hear the dog.
No, I'm kidding. It's not that bad. You're good.
Let's not forget, we have our marketplace set up to sell NFTs.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We should clarify what we're allowing people to sell on the site. So we've standardized on sealed wax because you and I have played a lot in sealed wax, and we feel like it's important to have a good place for not just us to sell, but sellers to sell at aggressive prices. If people want to pay lower prices on sealed wax and are tired of seeing all the massive inflation, the fees got to be reduced so sellers can sell at a better price. So here's a way for that to happen. You can only sell graded cards. You cannot sell raw cards. And in the next few weeks, you're going to be able to sell NFTs. So you're going to be able to sell Top Shot cards. Depending on the policy, that Top Shot continues to adjust. You'll be able to sell those very easily. And again, reduce the fee and get cash immediately versus waiting for, Top Shot to actually release funds for people. So yeah, pretty simple, right? Wax, graded, NFTs.
Yep. And the good thing about those product lines is that, and a lot of people will ask us, hey, why aren't you letting us sell let's just say other product lines? And what I mean by that is like non-graded cards. Well, it goes back to the idea that we want to make this a great place to transact, a safe place to transact. And, when people are selling cards that aren't graded, it just gets a little hairy, and it's a gray area, and there's so much room for, oh, this card isn't in the condition that it looks like in the picture, or, oh, this card, it's got a white corner and I couldn't see it in the picture, etc. So we shied away from that. We stayed away from that. But staying away from that also allows our marketplace to just, as long as we vet our sellers the way we're vetting them, it's going to be a great place. I mean, that's what I love. Honestly, I'm not tooting. I'm not.
You're not tooting. That's really good to hear.
Okay. Are we gonna?
That is not being edited. That is absolutely staying in. You're not tooting our horn. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Isn't that right? That's the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is in Missouri. I don't know. It is if it is in Las Vegas.
Listen. All right. So 3, 2, 1.
Good try. Good try.
Oh man.
I might have to cut out some of your laughing. I will say.
Oh man.
Oh, shoot.
All right. So what I was saying. Okay. So I lost it, man. I lost it. I lost it with all that laughing. I have no idea what we're talking about. Are we still talking about you in China?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Welcome. Meet my business partner, Marcel Bilak.
Oh, man.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. So look, for those that we'll just leave it at this, right? Go check out the card flip. We're excited to be in this together. I could not have done this with really anyone more trustworthy and more integrated in the hobby than Marcel. And you and I have tried to find ways to work together for years. I mean, we're coming up on a decade where you and I, we've sat down and tried to come up with things that we could do together because we know we can work together really well. And it's finally happening. And I'm just really, really thrilled to be doing this with you. And I think people are going to love the environment we create.
100%. Yeah. you know what? You hit it on the nail, and we're just super excited. I'm excited that we finally figured out uh, something that we could do together that would be special, that would change the hobby, that we could really get behind. And I just want everybody to know, uh, when you go check out the card flip, if you have any questions, we have 24/7 email support. So um, email us, and for the most part, it's right now, at least at this stage, Tyler and I will be getting back to you. We do have a team that's helping, but any serious inquiries or whatnot, Tyler and I are back there. We care, and we want to make this the marketplace that you want it to be. So please feel free to send us questions.
Absolutely. Night shift is all Marcel. I'll be working normal business hours.
Well, nothing's changed there, right? No, I'm just no, Tyler and
Absolutely.
all honesty, Tyler and I have put in some crazy hours. I mean, crazy hours. I'm
Yeah.
surprised we're still married and have families. So,
No doubt. Well, I know we've both tried to make sure our families are fully aware of what we're doing here, so we can we can get through this. All right, we'll leave it at that with the card flip. Check it out. I'm sure we'll talk about it many more times over the coming years. Just the experiences that we get to see happen. I want to ask you something about another hobby topic real quick, and that is PSA's decision to not accept cards until July. Talk me through that I mean, you obviously run businesses. From a businessman's perspective, was that a good decision? And did it need to happen? And how's it affect the hobby? My gosh, how does it affect the hobby?
well, I mean, it's that the answer to that is super simple. And I have friends who work at at all the grading companies, and I mean, it was just one plus one. It got to the point where they were receiving so many cards to grade, no matter how much they raised the prices on all the subscription levels, they were receiving too many cards. And I didn't hear this, but this is what I suspect. I didn't tell you this, Tyler. I suspect that this could have had a part in it. Maybe not so. You know what? No, because the new purchasers and yeah, maybe not so. But I think that what happened is it was just one plus one. You get to the point where you're so backlogged that even though you want to continue receiving the cards and setting up a queue. I mean, basically, the wait for your cards to get graded, right? Tell me if you disagree. The wait for your cards to get graded, as far as PSA is concerned, it's just a queue, but it's a queue with dollar signs. So, for the last 6 to 8 months, they just, in their mind, were like, okay, we're going to raise the price, even if the queue gets long. Everyone who's in queue is a dollar sign. That's potential business. But it got to the point where I don't even think they can house the cards. I don't know what type of insurance they have to house the cards and if there's any limits, but I think it got to the point where they realized that it didn't matter how much they raised the prices, the queue is too long and they don't have the manpower, they don't have the space, and they had to shut it down at least those service levels. I mean, that's the way I see it. What do you think?
I think you're probably right with the whole space and insurance and all that stuff. That's a good point. I think it was a decision based on risk. I think when you're talking a 12 to 15 million card backlog and growing, like at a certain point, they're probably thinking, okay, we might have, depending on how the market plays out over the next 6 to 12 months, we could face a situation where we end up with millions of cards that people aren't willing to pay for because the market has changed. We cannot be this backlogged. Our business and the flow of our business is in jeopardy to a certain extent. I think that had to play into the equation. I really do. I really do think that They were just getting too far out, too far down the line in a very inflated market where they were just carrying too much risk.
I agree. Yep, you're right. But I have a question. I forgot. Do they charge when they
Front, no,
receive? No.
no, they charge the day it's shipping. I think it's when it's actually charged, or that, within 48 hours of it being shipped. So, I mean, it's funny money. I mean, really, it's funny money for a lot of people. And I know people, right, who are just submitting hundreds of cards because they don't have to pay for it until it's shipped. And it's like a free loan,
You know what? You're right. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, if there were to be a bursting bubble, you would just have a bunch of people that would deny the charge on their credit card, keep the cards.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. I think they probably balanced it versus, okay, what's the upside of us getting more cards in over the next 6 months versus us potentially not having people pay for cards in 6 months? And it probably just got to a point where they're like, okay, we have to make a hard decision here to get this money in the door.
I agree. And you know what's interesting about that? The service levels that are left, those are the cards that people are they're gonna pay for them regardless.
Right.
Like, the service levels that are left, what they've done now, and for the everyday hobby reseller and part-time seller, you're not going to be able to send in those Kobe inserts and you try to get a PSA 10 and turn a $10-20 card into $100 card. That's not available for you anymore. But the guys who are grading nice vintage mantles or nice Zions, etc., valuable cards, they're gonna pay for them regardless. They're not gonna not they're not going to not allow them to come back to them. But they eliminated all the fluff, all the people who are just playing the game while the market's inflated. So you're right. I think that was a good evaluation.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
that's why you're my partner.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Well, I do think that it's going to bode well for this upcoming baseball rookie class, with the first PSA 10s that hit the market, and for the base flagship stuff, like that's going to be really interesting. And the trend that was developing was it was going to be so watered down by the time Bobby Dahlbeck had a PSA 10. There was going to be 5,000 of them on the market, where it was going to be a disaster. And now PSA's it's kind of reset the world a little bit in at least the base graded card market, to where base graded cards of 2021 and beyond, at least for the next 6 to 9 months, are going to be worth something. You're going to be worth a little bit more. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is.
That's the market I live in. So I like it.
So,
yeah.
So now that leads us to another question. And what do you think about some of these other grading companies that have been popping up, like HGA? I know that we think highly enough of them that we've included them in our site. But tell me what you think about the HGA process and what they have going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've had the pleasure of having Tyler on the show, and I've talked to him multiple times kind of offline. I believe in that dude. First off, I believe in his ability to get things done and do things the right way. Kind of like you, kind of taking his past experiences and making them and embedding them in his decision-making now going forward. I think it's going to do us all solid in that regard. I think the slabs are incredible. He charges up front, so you only get serious people. And the reality is he's allowing a lot of people to try it out over the next few weeks. You get 5 card submission limits. There's a queue to get in, so he spreads out the love. And I think that is going to bode well, and just people tasting how good hybrid could be. And it allows him to fix things over the next few months to make sure his process is tight. And when you got an automated process, an AI process kind of built in and is working really well, he's going to be able to get a lot of cards flowing through that system pretty quickly come summer of this year. And I think hybrid is going to be the second best grading solution in the market by the end of summer. That's my prediction.
Woo. I actually like them. I like them too. And you hit it on all cylinders. They are, I mean, there's some other, there's some other players in the market, SGC and BGS, and those are the oldies but goodies. But as far as any of these new companies that have launched, I think HGA has what it takes. And from what I understand about their process and their team, I think it's going to be a great option for all of us in the hobby. So I'm excited we put them on the site. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Well, I'm supposed to get my first submission back next week. So I'll be able to speak with more conviction about the process and all that. There was no favors thrown my way. I went through the process the normal, normal dude's way, and I had to wait in line to submit, and we'll see how I get my cards graded. And I'm looking forward to it. Do you have any cards? Do you have any cards at hybrid right now?
No, I'm staring at a box here that I was thinking of. Literally, I'm staring at this box here. I've got my 2B graded box, and I was going to send it off to hybrid. So I just gotta get it done. I was thinking to possibly send it off to PSA, but with the turn of events, this is going to hybrid for sure.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we're at an hour, and we've talked about a lot. I can already tell I need to have you back on because I want to talk about more of your experiences in the past with Legacy and Awesome. I'm sure you have plenty of great stories, but I always end with a little bit of rapid fire, some random questions for you to answer.
Okay.
So, what's the nicest card currently in your collection?
Oh my gosh. Well, so okay, this is a great place to say this. So I only collect Adrian Beltre. So everyone and anyone on planet Earth that hears this show today, please call me. I will buy your Adrian Beltre cards. That being said, what I consider the nicest card I have, I've got, gosh, I would think, I mean, listen, I have more valuable cards, but I have a Adrian Beltre inverted atomic refractor from 1997 Bowman Best. And so I believe it's a PSA 10. And so 97 is Adrian Beltre's rookie year. That's my favorite player. And they've got these mirror image cards that have Adrian and Chipper on them. And back then they didn't number them. And what they did is they created mirror image cards with Chipper and Beltre. And then you've got mirror image refractor. Then you've got mirror image atomic refractor. And then you've got mirror image atomic inverted refractor. And we tried to figure out the math on it. And we were thinking that there might only be like 20 of these cards. And I've got a PSA 10 of it, I believe. I think it's a PSA 10. So being that Adrian Beltre is the only player I collect, and he's the guy, that's my card. It's awesome. And it may not be worth as much. People are trading boats and houses for cards nowadays, so I can't trade and buy myself, a mansion in the Hamptons with it, but it's awesome, and it's Adrian, and that's my favorite card.
I love it. You get to pick one product to open every year, and it can be any sport. any product, what's the one product that you look forward to opening every single year?
So, it's funny. I don't collect hockey, and I my main sport is baseball, and I only collect Adrian. And so it's just funny. I opened up my card shop and I started cracking a case of the cup every year for myself. And that became kind of like a tradition.
Mhm.
And I would always crack a case. And I think out of all the years that I've done it, I think 3 or 4 of the years, I pulled the 99, the 99 auto for the main guy.
Hmm.
Um, So that's my product that I look forward to every year. I look forward to opening a case of the cup. It's Upper Deck, and they do quality work, and that product has got utter quality in it. And if you get the 99, the number to 99 autograph of the number one draft pick, you have a gorgeous card. And the way hockey kind of is, I feel like their number one draft picks turn out to be pretty darn good more often than not.
Yeah.
With baseball, I mean, there's so many.
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, it's just a crapshoot. So,
Yeah.
and that's my favorite sport. But yep, the
Okay.
cup is gorgeous.
I like it. You got a little Italian in your blood. What Italian food would you eat the rest of your life if you had to choose one?
All right, so hold up a sec, just for everybody. No Italian blood, but my wife is Italian.
Let me rephrase this question then. Your wife is Italian.
Yes.
You obviously you probably have plenty of great experiences with great Italian food. What Italian food can you not live without?
Oh my gosh. So All right, so I would say, I mean, my wife is the best, period. And everything, all my success, everything I am today is all because of her. I love her to death. But above all that specialness, she is such a great cook.
Mm.
And uh, she makes she makes great lasagna, which is atypical of her region because lasagna came from her region, where she's from in Italy. But I love tortellinis. Okay, so tortellinis are like little meat-filled raviolis. They kind of look like a ravioli, but they're formed differently. So it's kind of like a meat-filled ravioli, and it's in a tomato cream sauce, and you pour a little Parmesan over it, and they serve it. It's very popular. Like that's what kid. I mean, you know how kids here eat mac and cheese. When you go to Italy, they'll make tortellini. At least in her region, tortellini with meat, ground meat inside, and they'll serve it with either like a cream sauce, like a fettuccine sauce, or they'll serve it with a tomato cream sauce. And oh man, that is the best. When we go every summer, that's what I eat. I eat it like 7 times in like 8 days. My stomach's killing me. I can't breathe. Uh, tums, but I eat it every day. I love it. Uh, Next time you come over, Ty, whenever that happens, we'll make it for you.
Done. You can
Done.
count on that. You can absolutely count on that. Okay. Last question for you.
What's that?
You got a young guy coming up to you, young girl, doesn't matter. Comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, Marcel, I love what you're doing. You seem like a great guy. A lot of lessons learned. Point me to a book that would help me kind of get perspective and learn important business etiquette and lessons in life." What would you point him to?
There's so many good books.
First
You
one that
know,
comes to mind. Don't overthink it.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Nice.
I mean, you read that one, right? You told me you read it.
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's just such a great book. It's so simple. Anybody can understand it. The concepts are simple, and there's so many truisms, and it's 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 life, it's money principles, it's change, it's believing in yourself, it's growing, it's just the book. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's the first book that you would rattle off?
I would say it's probably recency bias because I read it 5 years ago and it stuck with me. I would probably recommend Creativity Inc. as the book for people to read. But I do like Rich Dad Poor Dad from a kind of economics, financial sense. I think it's a great, phenomenal book. Phenomenal book.
Creativity Inc. You know what? I don't even have that on my radar.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Creativity Inc. It's the book that I think stirred a lot of the way I am now, especially in the hobby. It is the story of Pixar, which is obviously relevant to most people in the world.
Yeah.
But it is such a great story / like how to overcome just the unexpected when you're doing things with business or in life, and hearing their story. And there's a lot of correlation between Ed Catmull and John Lasseter and Steve Jobs and all those guys. It's phenomenal, man. It's a phenomenal book.
I'm so gonna read it. Uh, you know, you know me well enough to know that I'm a really grateful person, and that I I just believe in always trying to be the best version of myself every day, because you don't know, when it's going to be your last day. Okay. And that's not doom or gloom. It's just kind of the way life works, right? Like, we don't know what's around the corner, and what's going to happen tomorrow. So you gotta live every day like it's your last. And I just, since people are listening, I want to say, it's that saying. I think it's Gandhi that says it, but I have it in my daughter's bedroom, and it's, be the change you want to see in the world. And I live my life by that motto. And it's so easy in life to point your finger and say, this isn't working because of this, or this isn't working because of her, or because of him, or because of my parents, or because of etc. And just when you're pointing that finger at something, there's three fingers pointing back at you. And one of the things that I really believe in life is that it's up to us to make the best of our lives and to find our happiness. It's up to us to be happy. And and if you want to see betterness and goodness in the world, then be that goodness. And there's a lot of things going on in this world right now, economically, socionomically. And I just think the state of our country in particular, I know that we're not the only ones. Just tell everybody that, hey, if you want to see things different and you want them to be good, then it starts with ourselves. So I wanted to say that out loud. It's important to me.
I love it. I love it. You've shared that quote with me before. I think it's phenomenal. And I think it's a fitting end to this great conversation. It has been a pleasure to have you finally on the show. And I look forward to many more of these and talking about what we're doing together.
Thank you, brother. So all I got to do is start a company with you, and then you'll ask me on the show again.
That is exactly it. Anyone that wants to get on the show, tell me what business you want to start, and you are automatically on.
All right, man. You're awesome. You're
have
awesome.
a great week.
Thank you.
We'll talk. All right.
All right, bud.